Figured I'd bust out the old Captain America t-shirt because, hey, we're talking about a Marvel movie, so why not dress in the appropriate Marvel attire? Had this shirt for the better part of a decade now. Still fits, but it's worn and most definitely past its best. Kind of like the MCU. I know I'm a bit late to the party making a video on this, but I think the first 24 hours of a new Marvel trailer are the worst time to make videos about it. Just because there's so much oversaturation of videos that yours doesn't really stand out, unless you're an established name with a lot of subscribers. So I think by doing this later, after having gathered my thoughts, maybe this video will get pushed in the algorithm. Also, quick side note before we jump into the video, I'm going to try and make a habit of anytime I make one of these extra Fraser Bits, an actual scripted video is not too far down the pipeline. Alright, let's jump into this. So the trailer for Avengers Doomsday is more or less of the same that we got from the teasers. The Fantastic Four and the Wakandans are going to meet each other at some point in this movie. The X-Men are returning. Thor and Steve Rogers are going to team up once again. It also seems there'll be some conflict between the X-Men and the Avengers, as you got Mystique taking on the form of Yelena and Gambit squaring off with Shang-Chi. Not the matchup that I would have picked, but to each their own. Also, I find it kind of weird that this is the first time we're seeing Shang-Chi in any capacity in the MCU since his debut movie 5 years ago. Like, I get the movie wasn't a runaway success, but considering how COVID restrictions were still very much in effect, the money it made was pretty decent. Apparently it was enough for them to get a sequel. Well, here we are 5 years later and we still have no motion on Shang-Chi 2. And I don't mean just big screen appearance. I'm talking appearance in the MCU, period. The trailer does seem to indicate that it picks up right after Thunderbolts, since that movie's post-credit scene have the Fantastic Four arriving to their Earth, and we have that scene of them meeting each other. There's also clearly somebody standing there whose back is to us, but we won't know until we actually see the movie for ourselves. What I really appreciate about this trailer is how seriously they're taking Thor. The last time we saw him was in Love and Thunder, which felt like a parody of himself. So I kind of like that they're trying to bring back that aspect of him being a warrior. This grand, larger-than-life figure from Norse mythology. I kind of figured that's the direction they were going to go when we got that teaser of him praying. But what I do hope is that if they do plan to give him a 5th movie as a final send-off, I hope this movie is what sets the tone. And from the looks of things, he's kind of taken over as the de facto leader. In fact, just going off the trailer alone, it kind of does feel like Thor versus Doom featuring the other superheroes. I'm also speculating that Professor X gets killed off right then and there. 4th time's the charm. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen's scenes were all shot within a couple of days. Like, as soon as they were done, they were like, alright, that's it, we're in the MCU now, where's my check? Now, I want to say I'm hyped for this movie, but given the state of the MCU, I can't say I am. I think it ultimately comes down to 2 core issues. One, the giant elephant in the room, that being that it was originally supposed to be the Kang dynasty, but now Kang is nowhere to be found. And so they pulled this guy out of the bag and say, hey, he's the bad guy. He was the big bad guy we were trying to set up all along. Come on, dude. What are you trying to pull? We know that this guy was supposed to be the next Thanos. And that's actually something I really want to touch on real quick, is that Thanos wasn't introduced until 4 years and 6 movies into the MCU. And that's because they actually took the time to build out these different areas of the Marvel Universe. Here they have this weird mishmash of introducing new characters and giving established characters their sequels. Toss in a bit of multiverse mention here and there, and they feel that makes up a lack of planning. There's also one other aspect of this movie that hasn't been talked about as much, and that's the Avengers. Who are the Avengers? Is it Cap and Ant-Man and Thor? Is it the Thunderbolts, the new Avengers? Is Shuri part of the Avengers now? What I'm trying to say is, we don't have a proper Avengers team. Honestly, you could have just called this Marvel's Big Event Movie number 5, and that would have gotten the point across just as effectively. But there are 2 characters I'm surprised we haven't seen anywhere in the marketing, or even hinted at, or in any of the leaks. Those being Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. I mean, these 2 guys kickstarted this whole multiverse nonsense, and yet they're MIA here. I mean, their last 2 solo movies were all about the multiverse. So the fact that they seem to be completely absent for this movie is kind of odd. You think someone like Doctor Doom would be someone Doctor Strange would keep an eye on. Oh dear lord, now I just imagine this dialogue exchange going down in the movie. Doctor Doom? we got a doctor as well. Promise you that there's going to be a line almost exactly like that. I don't know if this is just me getting cynical on the MCU, or if I've outgrown it, or if the MCU has really become that predictable. I feel like a good chunk of this movie is going to be hype moments and aura and all these, oh, look at that, look how cool these characters are meeting each other for the first time. And I know some people defending this movie will say, well, Infinity War was mostly characters meeting each other and going, whoa, look at how cool it was to see them meet each other for the first time. Yeah, but this was a decade of build-up. We've gone on adventures with all these different characters. We were made to care about them. The characters who had appeared the most, that being Steve Rogers, Tony Stark, Thor, those guys had entire trilogies, and you had seen them change and grow over the course of those trilogies and the larger universe itself. You know who's had the most appearances in the MCU post-Endgame? Or who the newest character has had the most appearances? Yelena. Now, I'm not complaining about Yelena being the most popular character for obvious reasons, but the fact that the character who we've seen of the most has only appeared 3 times in the years since. We saw her in Black Widow, we saw her in Hawkeye, and we saw her in Thunderbolts. That's it. She's the character with the most appearances this side of Endgame. Compare that to the other characters. Tony Stark had his own trilogy. He appeared in Captain America Civil War, he was in Spider-Man Homecoming. Captain America also had his own trilogy and appeared in the other 3 movies. We had enough appearances from different characters that when it was time for them to come together, we knew who they were, and we had a bit of a connection with them. In this case, it just feels like Marvel has picked a bunch of characters and said, okay, you gotta care about them now. And that applies to Doctor Doom as well. I know they have that shot of him blocking Stormbreaker. That was supposed to be on the same level as Thanos throwing an entire planet, but that's not what makes a villain menacing. It's not showing him doing this cool thing or having this character talk about how dangerous he is. It's the knowledge that we know he's going to be a threat. We knew that Thanos was on the way since the Battle of New York. We only found out about Doctor Doom last year. This movie is going to have to do a lot of heavy lifting to convince the audience that this version of Doctor Doom is worth being an Avengers level threat. Also, why do they have to bring RDJ back? I get it, it's a different character and that's happened before, and from what I've heard, they're not making him a Tony Stark variant or anything like that. But if you're going to bring back an actor to play an iconic villain, why couldn't it have been Mads Mikkelsen? Hell, Cillian Murphy probably would have done it if you told him Christopher Nolan was a producer. I feel like RDJ coming back to play Doctor Doom is one last cash grab. He knows that Marvel Studios will throw whatever amount it takes to get him back on board. And considering he has an entire trailer encampment and $100 million salary, he probably knows that that cash cow is running dry. So he's going to give it one last squeeze, and then he's going to bugger off. I hope he goes back to actually trying to be an actor again. He is a genuinely talented actor. He had a pretty decent career before Iron Man, and Oppenheimer seemed to be his big welcome back to the world of auteur cinema, Robert Downey Jr. I probably will check this movie out in theaters just because the fear of missing out and the morbid curiosity will get the better of me, but I have a strong feeling that I'm going to walk out of the theater looking like this. Basically, what I'm saying here is, I'm seeing Dune first.